Hello and welcome. This is Wildlife Moto, a motorcycle lifestyle channel, and today we are talking about my little lockdown project, the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650, and specifically 5 reasons why, if you haven't already, you need to go and buy one. Alright, so straight off the bat, these 5 points are going to be unashamedly biased towards the Interceptor. We're not going to be impartial here. This is the 5 reasons why you need to go and get this bike. So naturally, they are going to be positive ones. Of course, there are negatives too, but maybe I'll save that for another video. So first up on my list of 5, we have to talk about value. Now here in the UK, it's going to cost you around £5,800, which is still quite a lot of money for a bike. But the value that you get for your money is literally unparalleled. Now you will see this bike very often go head to head with other models out there, other much more expensive bikes, whether that's in ride-off videos on YouTube or, for example, the MCN Best Retro Bike category. And very often the Interceptor will come out on top. For example, it won the MCN award 2 years in a row. And there is a good reason for this, which we'll get onto. Now, the bike was designed over here in the UK at Royal Enfield's Technology Centre. It's up in Leicester. It's a £3.5 million facility they've built. And it fuses the best of British design with the unparalleled clout of Indian manufacturing muscle. So it really is the best of both worlds. And what you get for your money is a buttery smooth 648cc air and oil cooled parallel twin with these wonderful polished engine cases that come up an absolute treat with a little bit of elbow grease. The engineers have given us a lovely 270-degree throw on the crank, so you chuck on a set of aftermarket pipes, give it a crank, you just get a symphony of this. It's a parallel twin, but it has real character and charm. Elsewhere, your hard-earned money gets you a set of 18-inch spoked wheels, and they look beautiful. You've got a classic twin down-tube frame as well, designed by the legendary Harris Performance. It's just another reason why this bike has gone on to become one of the best-selling bikes here in the UK. Not only is it affordable and practical, but it also rides like an absolute dream as well. Now, this magic combination of high-quality engineering and low price points is no accident. In fact, it is a stroke of absolute genius, one that relies on one of the oldest and most established business models around, and that is one of scale. So Royal Enfield and the company behind them a few years back must have literally bet the ranch on a few things happening. One being that millions of people would buy this bike. And secondly, they'd be able to put enough investment into a really solid infrastructure project, logistics, design, marketing, all these things that need to go into building a bike, R&D, millions and millions and millions of pounds of investment, betting that the bike would be a commercial success. So that is a tremendous amount of risk, and it seems to have paid off. They shift around 1 million bikes a year now, which means that they will be doing pretty well. But the upshot of it is, when you spend your 5.8k on your new shiny Interceptor, what you're getting as a result of all that scale is unparalleled value for money. So then, next up on my list of reasons to buy the bike is that it is in some ways so much more than a motorcycle. This bike is in fact a design icon. Now, I don't know about you, but I've got a bit of a soft spot for the classics, original products that have survived the test of time because they strike that magic balance of form and function. Take this, for example. It's an angle poise reference 1227, designed by a British suspension engineer back in the 1930s. And today, in 2021, it remains the benchmark of how you make a desk lamp that performs exactly as you want a desk lamp to perform. It just works. This is a Rolex GMT Master 2, reference 11670LN to be precise. Born in the 1950s for jet pilots who needed the ability to reference 2 time zones at once. And again, it sets the benchmark of what a GMT watch is. And the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650, well, this is also a design icon for the same reasons. It comes at you from one of the oldest motorcycle brands on earth. And although the Royal Enfield of today It's not the same as the Royal Enfield of yesterday. The bike does have a genuine bloodline back to the original post-war bikes that gave us this frankly iconic stance of a classic bike. As a result, it's never going to look old or out of date. And while I'm currently having fun customizing the bike and playing around with little bits and pieces here and there, I have preserved all of the factory parts safely stored away to enjoy at some point in the future. I absolutely love this bike in its stock form. So next up on my list of 5 reasons to buy the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650, I told you this was going to be very gushing and positive. So now we're going to talk about the ease of riding it. No, in fact, scrap that. We're going to talk about the sheer joy of riding this bike. Now, maybe you're a new rider looking to get your first big bike. Perhaps you're a returning rider. You've got your license for a while and you want to get back on the road. Or even an experienced rider who's just a little bit long in the tooth with wrestling that super bike down to the local shops. This bike is just so easy to ride. And the upshot of that is you get to divert all of your attention to just enjoying your ride. This bike runs at a remarkably low 9.5:1 compression ratio. Basically means the engine will feel very lazy and laid back and relaxed. It's not highly strung, it's hardly ever stressed. It's just a very chilled out engine to ride. Its peak power comes in at 7,250 RPM, and the 47 horsepower lump delivers its peak torque at around 5k. However, about 80% of that torque is available at 2,500 RPM. This means that you just got a very wide and accessible power band on the bike, so you can really just enjoy pushing it to its kind of peak power and still remaining legal, especially on the UK's faster roads. So you can have a great time up and down through the gears. If you're between 2,500 and 5,000 RPM, that's where you're going to have all the fun, and you can do that at legal speeds. Meanwhile, in the city, that lazy characteristic makes it really buttery smooth and easy to kind of clutch pump through the traffic and things like that. Gear changes are silky smooth, and the bike also has a slipper clutch as well. So that means it's very forgiving. So if you are a new rider and you're likely to make a few hiccups with your gear changes, that clutch will forgive you a myriad of sins. Trust me, it's really good. Weighing in at around 200 kilograms, it's got a fair bit of mass to it, but it does hold its weight quite low down. For me, it never feels particularly top heavy. With 18-inch wheels, you can really flick it into the corners with razor-like precision. It carries a bit of momentum into corners. It doesn't feel flighty, but it feels really quite planted and directional. So you can kind of point it and squirt it wherever you want to go, and it just seems to get you there. Now, the rider position is extremely neutral on this bike. So if you're worried about turning yourself into a piece of origami up there on a sports bike with your legs tucked back and in a tuck, that's not going to be a problem on this bike whatsoever. The pegs are exactly where your feet expect them to be. Your legs just drop down and there are the pegs right underneath you. The seat height's around 31 inches. So again, unless you are very short, you're not going to have a problem finding your feet on this bike either. Now, being a naked bike, you get that wind in your face experience, which I personally quite like. It makes you feel like you're going faster than you actually are. It's quite a kind of visceral experience, but of course you can add in a bit of protection as well. You've got some great options in terms of genuine fly screens, and I've gone ahead and I've ordered and installed this Dart Classic. So I've got that on the bike and looking forward to testing it out as well. Out of the box, the seat is pretty comfortable actually for shorter trips. I've never had a massive problem with it, but again, I have upgraded it to the genuine touring seat. So when I go out for some longer rides this summer, fingers crossed, we've got a little bit of added comfort from that as well. Now, the Bi-Bray brakes are by Brembo, hence the name. They are predictable and progressive, with honestly even the most ham-fisted or heavy-footed of riders having a hard time frightening themselves with this ABS-enabled setup. It really is very, very easy to get a feel for the brakes on this bike. And if you want a little bit of extra stopping power, again, you could upgrade to a set of sintered pads as well, which works really well on this bike. All in all, this bike is one of the most user-friendly machines around. No pages of complex menus to faff around with and settings and all that stuff. You literally jump on, hit the red button, give it a twist, and off you go. It is pure riding pleasure at its very best. So as we move through my list of reasons to buy the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650, we've got to talk about the ease of customization and maintenance. Now, if you have a nose around my channel, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. I've been very busy. While this bike is absolutely fantastic out of the box, it is also a fantastic canvas to get creative with. From making small tweaks and adjustments to using the bike as a platform for full-on customizations, there are some amazing examples out there. These are just a few that I saw down at the bike shed, with the Interceptor being made into a big scrambler bike here and the GT being turned into a full-on race bike. There's so much that you can do with this bike if you want to. It is just a fantastic canvas to get started with. Now, I've focused my mods on a few small performance mods. I've got free flow pipes, I've got upgraded suspension, I've changed my brakes to the RCS 15 from Brembo, I've got new clutch controls and things like that. And I've also thrown in a number of little aesthetic mods here just to kind of personalize it to the bike that I want it to be at the moment. But as I said, I've still got all of those factory parts, and I love this bike in stock form, so I'm not going to be doing anything permanent to change the bike, with a view to always potentially putting it back to stock at some point in the future if I want to. So along with being super easy to customize, the bike is also extremely easy to work on from a maintenance standpoint as well. The workshop manual is very, very complete, it's pretty decent, and yes, it comes with a center stand too. So we've made it to the final point on my list of 5, and that is the running costs of the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650, because it's not bad at all actually. This bike will do 60 miles to the gallon all day long. Your insurance is going to be super cheap as well, because it's an A2 bike and it's only 47 horsepower. And if you want to, you can pretty much zero your maintenance costs by doing a lot of the work yourself. And even if you're not all that confident in doing that stuff, you're only going to have to service it every 6,000 miles. And that's going to cost you here in the UK around 270 quid or something like that, because the bike is quite easy to work on. It's not going to be very, very expensive to service it. So from a running cost standpoint, it's a pretty good bike to have in the garage. You'll also be pleased to know that every bike rolls off the production line with a 1007 point check. You also get a 3-year warranty, along with 3 years of breakdown assistance as well. So you've got 3 years of peace of mind with your new Interceptor or Continental GT, which is very, very cool. Now, I've owned the bike for, coming up to a year soon, and I haven't had a single problem with it, touch wood. So I do believe these bikes are very well made. So if you are one of these people that can do that maintenance yourself, you can bring that service cost right down, you're going to find this bike is incredibly cheap to run. So that's it. That's my list of 5 reasons why you should get out and buy yourself a Royal Enfield Interceptor 650. Don't take my word for it. Go and look at the other YouTube videos out there. Read all the celebration about this bike in the Moto press. It really is a very special machine, and I have absolutely fallen in love with it during my short time of ownership. Once again, thank you very much for watching. If you found this video useful, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe for more on the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650 and other bikes very soon.